All right, Mighty Joe. I think we've talked enough about the offense. Going over the other side of the football, I think the defense, uh, ironically, played its best game of the season in the finale. And I say ironically because there's already a report out there by On One, even though we have not, at the point of recording this, I have not been able to confirm officially, nor have they announced, Texas Tech announced, or Tim Drew officially that they are parting ways. But it does appear like that. It appears that it had been heading that way. But if that was Tim DeRuyter's last game leading the defense, it was the best of the season at least. I mean, 4 sacks from Garrett Green, 2 interceptions, and they held West Virginia's potent rushing attack well below its yearly average. So just an all-around really good performance by Texas Tech's defense on Saturday.
Yeah, if the defense had played like that all season long, there wouldn't be any discussion of DeRuyter
Probably, yeah.
finding a new home. That's for sure. So, yeah, I think the pass rush was the thing that really stood out to me most. I believe 3 of the 4 sacks, or maybe even all 4 of them, occurred in the first half, which is where you separated from them. You blew the game open by halftime. I thought the outside linebacker blitz was key to all that, particularly Terrell Tillman was coming off the edge and creating all sorts of havoc. And when those guys on the outside weren't necessarily getting home, they were forcing Green back into the guys like Jaden Cofield, who got a sack as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you did really good work in terms of the pass rush. And as far as stopping the run goes, well, I mean, in the second half when the game was already decided, Jakeem White got a little bit going, and they kind of padded the numbers a little bit. But when the game was on the line, you were shutting down that ground game. Very, very impressive in that regard. So just all in all, just a very impressive performance.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, or like we talked about, a couple interceptions, and that's something that one thing that Tech has been really good at this year.
Yep, that's right. Tech is, I believe, in terms of just interceptions, is probably right around number 25 in the country, 14 on the year. Baskerville's pick was extremely superhero style, flying over that dude and just taking the ball out away from him on the way down. Very terrific interception on his part. And so, but generally the one area that the defense has sort of excelled is turnover creation. And that certainly played a big role in the win last night.
Yeah, and Baskerville had a flair for the dramatic this year. He had some really good interceptions, but if there's one guy you got to say, look, can you imagine how bad the defense would have been without him, and just what Tech's record would have been without him? Is Jacob Rodriguez, and he got 1 sack. He didn't have like a monster game statistically, but he was still flying around, especially early when the game was still in doubt. Got a big sack, almost got another. And what a great performance from him this year. And he actually celebrated Senior Day, which is worth noting. I remember last year, McGuire saying they're going to redshirt him now. If he has a 100 tackle season or something like that, he might end up going early to the league. But just in case he wants to have an extra season of eligibility, it's the right thing for him, and that's why they went ahead and redshirted him and held him out of that UT game at the end of the year last year. But he does have 1 year of eligibility remaining. Tech is really big on just in case celebrating them on Senior Day. So I don't know. I'm clearly not in the Rodriguez household. Nothing's been reported. Nothing's been shared behind the scenes about what J-Rod intends to do. I think even anything that would be commented on, and I think McGuire was asked about it last night after the game in terms of, hey, is Rodriguez expected to come back? It's too early to tell. And like, we've talked about what could this defense look like? What can this team look like? We have no idea because the transfer portal. I mean, who's going to go in? Who's going to leave? Who's going to come in? Tech's expected to take as many as 10 guys. So it's a big deal. I think more than even who the defensive coordinator is going to be if Jacob Rodriguez comes back or not, because I think he meant that much to the defense this year.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He was just as important to the defense as Taj Brooks was to the offense.
Yeah.
And, but, I mean, the NFL is huge on measurables, obviously. Yeah. I don't know if Rodriguez is necessarily going to fit their specs profile to the extent that he's going to be anything like a high draft pick. I mean, I think maybe just because he's so incredibly productive and he has a knack for making big plays, he might slip in at a very late round, possibly. But, I mean, Taj Brooks would have done that as well prior to last year, and he came back.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it might be, again, and I'm just speculating here, if it's a money thing, and with NIL and everything, it might make just as much sense, just like Taj, for him to come back for that extra year at Texas Tech and get paid by Texas Tech as opposed to getting paid by the Eagles. You're the, I know you'd love to see him playing for the Eagles.
Why would you do that to me? Why would you do that to me?
So,
Heather Sanford is saying,
yeah, right. So, but you get what I'm saying, and definitely a fun player to watch. Just as Brooks was a lot of fun to watch on offense. Great to see Rodriguez do his thing as well, and sticking with the linebackers. I mean, how about John Curry, the young guy?
Yeah, and Michael Dingle. Michael Dingle led you in tackles yesterday.
Absolutely.
I think the future's bright at inside linebacker for sure. And, I wouldn't be surprised if it plays out in, again, speculation, but I wouldn't be surprised if it plays out just like you said, that J-Rod, I mean, in terms of he could know he will have a roster spot and make good money with NIL. And that's one of this is kind of off topic, but not really. One of the byproducts of this new era of college football in college sports in general is while yes, it's not certain that somebody's going to return to your team, it is more likely these guys stay an extra year or two in football and in basketball than what we've seen. Like, I think JT Toppin's a good example of that, kind of mid to late second round projection after testing NBA waters. But hey, you go back to college and make money, so might as well maybe improve your stock. So that's what Taj did. Attempted to do this year. It had a great season. We'll see what happens for him. Maybe J-Rod will do the same. Right. So that is just one interesting byproduct of this weird new college sports landscape we find ourselves in. But I promised we'd circle back around to the big picture of Texas Tech season, and so here we are. Again, 8-4 overall, 6-3 in the Big 12. I understand on one hand, I really do, the level of frustration and the level of what might have been from Texas Tech fans in terms of, Tech was right there. They beat both teams that are going to be playing for the Big 12 championship in Iowa State and Arizona State. They started off 5-1. Those games against Baylor and TCU, who knew Baylor was going to end up having the type of season they did when they went on that run, and probably looks like they saved Dave Aranda's job. And that was one thing, and that was a gut punch. But the TCU game where you're up by 17 points in the second half and you drop that, because I really think Colorado, just matchup wise, was a bad matchup for Texas Tech. I think you play that game 10 times, probably 7 out of 10 Colorado wins that. So to me, that wasn't. I mean, it was disappointing, but it made sense to me in my football brain, if that makes sense. TCU losing after being up 17, that one just a kick to the scrot, as became the word in the press box for us, for a handful of us there yesterday. It really was. And that's, if you look at any game and what could have been an opportunity loss, I feel like that TCU game, and the fact that it's an in-state rival and all that thing just kind of makes it that much worse. And I get it. On the other hand, by so many measures, and we've said, a lot of people have said, by so many measures, this was a quality step forward for the program under Jones Blair.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And you talk about that painful loss to TCU, but I mean, by the same token, you won a lot of very, very close games, single possession games, single score games. So I mean, you could turn around and those teams that Tech beat could say, well, if we hadn't lost to Texas Tech, where would we be? So you can always flip that around. You're going to drop one of those games probably, and it was the one to TCU. Yeah, it's painful, but it is what it is. I think maybe one of the things that really hurts is looking at Arizona State, a team that was, I believe, preseason, picked for the cellar in the Big 12 or right around there, and here they are playing for the title, and the Tech fans have got to be saying, well, why not us?
Yeah.
When is this going to happen to us? I mean, what have we got to do?
Yeah.
You know, are the football gods, have they cursed us? You know, and I understand that, but you know, I think you know, we can't know for sure when that breakthrough season is going to happen. You suspect at some point it will, right? But the odds of that happening are better with Joey McGuire than anything else. I mean, I think the program definitely is moving in the right direction. There's consistent improvement, and if that continues, the breakthrough has to happen at some point. And we just hope it's sooner rather than later, maybe next year. You know?
Well, to me, and it's what I agree with what McGuire said. They have to get better on defense overall, and they have to improve the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
You do those two things, and then also you got to replace some guys in Taj and Josh Kelly, which all that sounds like a lot, but if you can improve in those two areas, especially the secondary, if they take a step forward, and then the offensive line takes a pretty big step forward, I mean, you're going to be pretty tough to beat, and you're going to have a chance to, you know, to get to Jerry World and play for a Big 12 championship. But Mighty Joe, man, great stuff from you. I know we rambled on. It was so long, I decided to break this up into two parts, two-part day after podcast to end the season. I think it was rightfully so. But Mighty Joe, man, great stuff from you as always. Thank you. Thank you all for watching, and until next time.